Hi everyone, my name is Katie. I'm a first year MBA student here at MIU and I'm very honored to be the moderator today. I'd like to introduce our guest speaker and our two panelists. Dick DeAngelis is our guest speaker. He's an award-winning documentary filmmaker and producer. He was also the president of DeAngelis Management Services, a marketing consulting company helping small to medium-sized enterprises build their consumer base. Since then, he has become well known for his documentaries on the history of Iowa. His company, Fairfield Productions, is a local nonprofit partnering with Fairfield Media Center to produce the Fairfield History Series, 8 films that depict the history of Fairfield, Iowa. This will include a documentary on the history of Parsons College, which MIU is now on that campus. So our first panelist is Fairfield, Iowa Mayor Connie Boyer. Mayor Connie is a 6th-generation Jefferson County resident and grew up in Fairfield. Connie worked at Iowa State Financial Services Company for almost 24 years, retiring from banking in 2012 as CFO of Iowa State Financial Services Company. Connie graduated from the University of Wisconsin's Graduate School of Banking in 2000 and Financial Manager School in 2004. She also co-chaired the Go Green Commission in 2009, served on the Fairfield Arts and Convention Center Board for 10 years, and is currently a member of the Fairfield Library Foundation Board. Our second panelist, Susan Frey, is the Executive Director of the Lord's Cupboard of Jefferson County, a nonprofit dedicated to providing food to Jefferson County Iowans whose income is below emergency food assistance guidelines. The Lord's Cupboard was established in 1982 by Norma Bogner and Tom Smith, among others in the community. Their mission has always been to serve Jefferson County, Iowa's low-income, food-insecure families. So I'm going to hand it off to Dick DeAngelis now to start his presentation.
Thank you, Katie. I want to thank everybody associated with the MIU business community for inviting me to do this talk. I probably am not going to speak about what they want me to speak about, but I'll do my best. And we'll have some fun. So when I heard that it's about social entrepreneurship and community development, I figured I might take a minute and talk to you about kind of my big picture. For me, I figured after I graduated at MIU in 1979 that is, with a business degree, and had a pretty good job with Coldwell Banker and commercial real estate in Hackensack, New Jersey. I was faced with the challenge of setting goals that were meaningful for me and my company, but actually really related to what I wanted to do in my life. And right away, as I continued to study this, which I studied at MIU, I realized that I had to figure out more clearly for me what my purpose was on Earth. It sounds pretty big, doesn't it? But really what my particular purpose is, not kind of what our purpose is or what we should all do to make the world better, but why I, particularly my personality and everything associated with me, is here to do. And for me, my purpose on earth is to enjoy happiness and spread that happiness to as many people as possible through whatever I do. And that's what I do no matter what I've chosen to do in my life, whether it was with Coldwell Banker or other companies that I've worked with and for. That's my big picture. That's why I'm here with you today, is to hopefully share some of that happiness and joy. In particular, to share and connect you maybe with your mission and encourage you to develop that in yourself. You know, your big picture. I know we've all thought about this, so it's not a matter of thinking about it. But for me, it was a matter of actually putting it to the point where I could write it, know it, say it, believe it, understand it deeply inside of me, and live it. so that whenever I set my goals or I chose to work with a company or I decided to do something within the community, it always reflected those qualities of something I wanted to do in my life. I know this is a weird way of thinking about it, but for me, it's like if I died tomorrow, would I feel like I'm on purpose for what I really wanted to do in my life? Or would I feel like, oh no, I went to make a few bucks and I totally abandoned who I was and what I really was here to do? Oops, too late. And it's just not what I wanted. I wanted to make sure that when that day comes, whenever it is, could be tomorrow and it could be in 40 years, that I was just comfortable with the fact that that's what I did. And every day I've dedicated myself since I was about 23 to doing just that. When I've had problems, it's when I lost that. That's my experience. So it is what allowed me to build the successes upon in my life. And just so we're clear, for me, success it's whatever brings prosperity, progress, love, joy, bliss to me and to those around me, those that are closest to me and my community, and from there, our world. And my education at MIU was really instrumental in me establishing that inner stability and the knowledge that goes along with it, so that to get comfortable with myself, so that no matter what field I went into, and I've been in a number of fields in my life. For most of my money-making career, it's been related to sales, which is something kind of dharmic for me from an early age. But the key was for me to feel easy with whatever field, that it was all a kind of part of me. And then if I had an idea, I'll give you an example. I decided at age 50 that I wanted to meet with friends that were of Italian-American descent and in Fairfield, because I missed my family, my big family that I had when I was in New Jersey. And I moved here with my wife, who I married the day after I graduated at the chapel at MIU. And then we went to New Jersey for a couple of years. We said, no, we want to be in Fairfield. So we moved back to Fairfield. We have 5 children, wonderful kids, and now adults. And they all attended Marshy School. We just have had a great time here. But when I decided to come back here and get involved with different businesses, I was really interested in make money, take care of my family, and do that. I was going to do that in New Jersey, but my friends said, come on, Marshy said to come out to Fairfield. So I said, all right, I'll make the money there. And it was kind of money for me. It was just a law of nature, and figured it would work. And I've made a lot of money. I've also lost a lot of money, by the way. And then I made it again and lost it again. I've enjoyed the benefits of having money, but I want to tell you it's certainly not everything. But it is it's a good thing. It's been a great thing in my life, and it's something that's allowed me to have some freedoms that I've enjoyed. But it all came about because I knew what I was doing. I just want to finish this thought because I think it's important for y'all. When I was in a business here called ITG here in Fairfield, we were it's a very sales-oriented company. Something was missing, right? I go to my daughter's, like the group was good, they were talented, they were doing really well, but I said, what is it? And I go to my daughter's kindergarten class, and she has a big sign up in the kindergarten class that says, "We are here to enjoy." And these kids were really happy. I mean, like, they were on the happy juice, And it was so wonderful to see them all really fulfilled and happy. And I'm like, we are here to enjoy. It just hit me like some angel was saying it in my ear. Next day in my office, in the big sales floor, there's this huge sign that says, "We are here to enjoy." I didn't say anything. I didn't lecture them. I just put it put it out there. And it changed the whole feeling in the place. I mean, it was really demonstrably more joyful and fun. And everybody kind of, some people would say something to me. and sales went up. So it made me realize, like, not only do you need to kind of listen when there's an idea that comes to you, but you need to be comfortable enough with yourself to act on it. I like to tell people that there are those angels that are whispering in our ear all day long. And it may come from just some person random person that comes up to you, some crazy person that you think, and you have this thing that you judge that person and you maybe ignore them. Big mistake, I think. Because you never know who the person is. Could be a very shy person. You just have to be around them maybe. Maybe they're just do something kind or something that you pick up on that has an imprint on you. Sometimes my experience is the times I felt the worst in my life is when I didn't listen to that voice that I knew was saying something to me. Sometimes it was coming from inside of me. Go, oh no, I probably shouldn't do that. I had a company, I'll give you an example, that I was working with. And I just had the feeling like the company's cycle was kind of finishing. And it was going to kind of eventually morph into something else or something. We were making quite a bit of money. I won't go into the details, but I was making more than the president of the company running his sales department, and we were really having some fun. In Fairfield, it was pretty unheard of money. And I turned to the other vice president and I said, you know, I got this feeling like things are just finishing up. And he turned to me and go, well, are you going to do something about it? I said, yeah, probably. And then I didn't. And I want to tell you why. I was making a lot of money. And the money and the ego from enjoying the work and so on overshadowed me listening. By the way, he left the company that month and told me later that it was that conversation with me because he believed in my intuition strong enough that he left. The company went out of business 6 months later. And he landed on his feet and did really well. I tanked with the company for a little while. When you're used to having a large income, you have all kinds of expenses associated with it, and all of a sudden the income's gone. It's a pretty traumatic event on you and your family. Not big, nothing that we didn't handle, but it took a while. So I've had that experience where I've listened to that voice inside, and I've had the experience where I haven't. And I got to tell you, the only time I've felt really bad in my life is when I haven't listened. Because I feel like God's whispering to me, and I said, oh, yeah, thanks a lot. I'll listen to you later. And it's just crazy. So I encourage you to listen. I want to just tell you a little bit about what I'm doing right now. And I decided when I was 50 that I'd start this Italian group I was telling you about. And then we decided that we had so much fun. We met together, and I thought it was just going to be like 5 people. It was like 40 people. And the deal was you had to be half Italian. So my dad is 100% Italian. Both his parents are from Italy, and my mom is not. So I was 50%. I just passed the test. And somebody said, well, how about if you're 30%? I said, no, you're not welcome. And they were like, oh my God, you're not welcome. I said, in Fairfield, you're welcome on every place. This is one that is like, it's a club, you know, and this is the deal. And we were just kind of kidding about it. But eventually our friends got a little mad at us because we were having really good food at these meetings. And they wanted to be a part of it. So we decided we would actually have a big party at the First Friday's Art Walk. And so we decided we met with the Art Walk people, and they said, oh, nobody comes to the June one. Because at that time, they weren't having them outside at big festivals. They were doing walks where people would go visit the art places. So I said, well, we'll take June. They go, oh, everybody goes on vacation. I said, yeah, but it's nice out. We'll do it outside. I think the first one we did, we had 1,200 people come. And people were shocked. I mean, we had lines and things, and people were getting mad at us because there wasn't enough this and, gelato or whatever. We had music, and we had some en plein air artists and this and that. The next one, we had 3,000 people. And by the following one, we had close to 5,000 people show. And then we had over 30 musicians, artists, roving musicians, people coming in from Italy, Modenari experts that did chalk art basically, and we encouraged our whole community of artists to learn with him about chalk art. It was quite a big thing, and we did it for 10 years. And then after 10 years, I noticed that our people were kind of just getting tired, and nobody was coming to take over for those people. So my kids who are adults now were coming out and helping out. And I realized even though we had over 150 volunteers, the energy was just dipping. It was still bringing in tons of people and very successful. But I listened to my intuition, and I informed everybody that that one would be the last one. And sure enough, it was a wonderful one. My daughter's husband proposed to her on stage at the last one, which was a surprise to me. And it was also just a fabulous time. Please talk to somebody else if you want to know a little about all things Italian. I decided to retire then, take it easy, and for 3 to 4 months I did that. My wife was very happy for the first month, but then she started getting a little tired of me just having not much to do. So I don't know, out of nowhere I came up with this idea. I saw something on YouTube about another town that I knew of, and they did some aerial shots about the history of the town, and we decided to do a film first about Fairfield's history. But the deeper I went into it, the more I realized one film is not going to do it. And we came up with 8 films that we would create. Then we realized these films, we want them to be a full feature-length documentary, deeply researched. We want to go for it. Make this something that the kids in our community can connect to and adults in a very... It's called place-based education, to understand the place that you live and who lived here before you, the native populations that were here, what languages they spoke, how did the rivers get created, were there dinosaurs here at one time? And we actually worked with the top experts in the field and did these films. You can find out more about them at www.fairfieldhistoryseries.com. There's links to all the films and a lot more information. I'm really not here to do a commercial about it. I'm here to tell you that it's been one of the most rewarding things I've done. We're now on our 5th film. I'm meeting people who attended Parsons College. When I went to MIU, Parsons College was just the college that went down in smoke a few years before we got there. And that some people missed it so much that they wished we weren't there because they wanted that old college back, but that it was called Dropout U or Flunk Out U, and it would, all these negative things about it in the press. Wow, am I finding out a whole lot more now. And October of 2023, we'll have a premiere of that film at the Sondheim Theater, and we hope everyone will come and be a part of it. They're also going to bring the whole Parsons Alumni Association together, which they thought they were done doing, for one more huge alumni reunion. We've received support throughout our community. It's really been a blast to work with people I don't know, people who don't know me. When I did the first film called Life Before Fairfield, I'll never forget this one farmer came up to me after in the beginning of our second show. I told the people at the Sondheim that we probably need to do it like at least 2 showings, because I think people are going to come. And he was running the Fairfield Arts and Convention Center at the time. He was a good friend of mine, and he said, D, no offense, but this is a history movie. If you get 100 people, you're going to be lucky. It was a free thing because we had raised the money from the community to actually do it. And we sold out. That over 500 people came to the Sondheim. It wasn't an empty seat. We had to turn away about 50 people. The next night, it was also sold out. We turned away about 75 people. We had to do another showing that next Wednesday, in which about 400 people came. We showed it to 1,500 people in a few days in the community. And what was really cool was there were people from throughout the community. And word of mouth spread. One guy came up to me, a farmer, and said, "Hey, are you DeAngelis?" And I said, "Yeah, guilty." And he said, "Saw the show last night." And I said, "Yeah." "I didn't know you." I know what that means. That's a code, by the way. I'll tell you about it later. And he goes, "But I brought my family today." Now, I'm almost like tearing up. To me, that meant so much. That connected me to the joy and the happiness that I wanted to share with people. The bringing together of our community that I really wanted to be all about. And for me, that's now happened again and again. I want to show you a little clip of one of the films that, a piece of one of the films, the last film we did. And I want to just tell you this really quickly. I decided that it was kind of boring, the little piece that I wanted to tell, but it was interesting and kind of funny. So we do an animation maybe, which I had never done before. Then somebody goes, "Do you know that this one lady who's now retired, Bonita Versh, was actually an animator for like Hanna-Barbera and did the Rugrats and did the Flintstones?" And like, you got to be kidding me. "No, she's retired now, but you should talk to her." Well, we got her involved. We got Phil Rabelais, who had been at the MIU program, and we got Tim Britton involved with the sound and the music. And we came up with this section called the Honey War. So I want to just play it for you. It's 3 minutes. Let's see if I can make this happen. Can you see that? All right. Honey played an important part in the early days of Iowa. In fact, we almost went to war over it.
The story of the Honey War really started in 1816 when a surveyor, John C. Sullivan, got the job of drawing a border that was described in a treaty with the Osage. But he had a problem. He mixed up magnetic north and polar north. So by the time he got to the end where he was supposed to be, his line was crooked. That was his whole job, and he didn't do it right.
In 1837, Missouri Governor Lilburn Boggs had the border resurveyed by John Brown, who, unlike Sullivan, ignored the Des Moines River below Fort Madison and drew the new border line through Keosauqua, 9.5 miles north. Eventually, there were 4 separate lines drawn, all claiming to define the true border between Iowa and Missouri. Of course, each state favored the version of the border that gave them the most taxable land. But why was this called the Honey War? Well, Governor Boggs decided to send a sheriff from Cahokia to the disputed territory to collect Missouri taxes. But the people who lived there considered themselves Iowans and sent the sheriff away. Twice. Soon after, in that same area, 3 big bee trees, or honey trees, were cut down. Now that was a big deal, because honey was highly valued and in short supply. A few months later, when the Missouri sheriff was sent back a 3rd time, the Iowans were ready for him. They arrested the sheriff and threw him in jail. The Missouri governor was so mad, he sent the militia to the border. Iowa's governor responded in kind, with the Iowa militia bringing whatever ragtag equipment they could muster. Old swords and rifles, butter churns, and sausage stuffers. Soon the 2 governors and their militias were ready to face off.
Leaders both in Missouri and Iowa realized that it would look terrible for them if people actually died fighting over the border. So very, very quickly, they told their men to stand down. And the Honey War was over before it even started.
All right. Well, that was the Honey War. It was goofy and silly. I hope you enjoyed it. It gives you an idea of one thing. We got a whole bunch of people together, and everybody says, Dick, you're crazy. You're spending a lot of time and energy on this one little 3-minute section of our hour and 15-minute film. In the last 6 months, that film has been selected to 8 different film festivals and won 3 awards already, including selection to the Cannes Short Film Festival. So I tell you that because we had really fun, talented people, and they all went with it, and they thought, Dick's crazy to do this. But they said, okay, we're going for it. And it ended up being something that, silly enough, has won us. We've won a lot of awards for our other films, but this has just been crazy how many people responded to this. Even though we didn't even draw it out perfectly, we didn't color it completely, we just had some fun with it. Hope that gives you some feeling of what we're doing. I'm going to finish. I think we have a couple minutes, a minute or two.
I think we're going to go on to the panels discussion with Connie.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll cover this last point to you in that discussion.
Perfect.
I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. That was amazing.
Connie, I can't hear you.
Gotta unmute.
There you
I
go.
just want to comment how one of the greatest things I think that's come out of these films is, well, actually 2 things. It's Dick's entrepreneurship, which you're studying and talking about, but also the social interaction that's happened in the community. It's been one of the best things and experiments, if you might say, of our different factions of our community coming together and enjoying something together and learning together, and also really being proud of Fairfield. So thank you to Dick and everyone, because he's had a lot of volunteers to help on this. So it's been an amazing thing. And from the city standpoint, one of the things that obviously this isn't a city project, right? But Dick has received funds through what we call LOST funds, or local option sales tax funds. So Dick, maybe you want to talk quickly about what that process was.
Yeah, first of all, the most important thing is Connie, ever since she's come into office and before her, Ed Malloy, have been extremely supportive of this project and encouraged me personally. That's meant a lot to me. Thank you, Connie. If you go into her, I don't know, somewhere in your office, one of your offices, the posters of our films are up on the wall. And that just means so much, because it tells me that the city really does support this. The idea of place-based education is actually important to our community, because when people walk at their home or down their street and they go, oh, who else walked here and when? What am I a part of? A continuum. I had a person contact me after one of my films, and he was from MIU. He was from a different country. I don't exactly remember which at this time, but he said to me, my wife and I were going to leave Fairfield, but we came to this because we weren't sure we fit in. Our color of our skin is different to most people. Our language skills are improving, but not there. He says, but we watched this film. It really focused on a Native American ancestors, geographical ancestors from here, the Iowa and the Sac and Fox, and who they were, what their culture was really all about, and so on. And he said to me, then I saw your film, and I realized, hey, these people here, they're just renting, just like we are. And I thought that was a great comment. And I said, yes, that's right. We're all just renting. And he goes, well, then we belong here just as much. People who were here before them and their ancestors, they spoke a different language. And I said, yeah. I said, this hasn't always been like it is now, and it won't be afterwards. And once you see that perspective of history, it really changes the way you think about where you live and your place in it. So thank you for being able to support that vision of bringing that to people. We've received private funding from individuals. We do Facebook things to fundraise. We get support from the Greater Jefferson County Foundation, tremendous support from them. other individual Iowa groups like Humanities Iowa, etc. So, and even private foundations. Yes. Oh yes, fine. So, I did. Somebody said to me, Dick, and we'll get back to this other point, Connie. But somebody said to me, "So how do I do this thing that you're talking about?" And I would just want to go over really quickly and take 30 seconds. One, do regular goal setting. B, do and have sections of your goal settings. Yeah, this is what I want to be, this is what I want to do, and this is what I want to have in different areas: spiritual, physical, emotional, business, and in different times settings. 1 year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now. Connect with, I listen to whether you're receiving supportive nature. I get amazing supportive nature in this project. Stuff that I could actually spend an hour with you or more, way more, telling you all these stories about all this support I get. Oh, this person connects to that person, connects to that person. Oh my goodness. And then we help them connect. And all that has to do with telling you you're on the right track. So we know this in our relationships. If a relationship we're having with somebody is easy, it's different than other relationships. It's like, wow, that's remarkably comfortable right away. And then you know you're in the zone. You're meant to be with that person. The same thing is for what you do. Use your strengths. My strength is people. I absolutely love people. I love to meet people, connect people to each other. I see our community like a big cloth that we're just weaving together, all these different peoples with all these different points of connections. Admit your shortcomings, weaknesses, and make them stronger, either in yourself or bring somebody along who actually covers that area, so that you don't have to be great at everything, but you have to understand it. If you're not as good of an organizer, bring in somebody who is and have them help you. And trust your intuition. I've heard. I told you that story about I heard it, I listened, and I didn't listen, and that's where that brings you. I now don't do that anymore. I always try to listen as best I can, and be open to those little voices. Not that I hear little voices. Okay. And then and have an openness to resources, the people that are in your life. You'd be shocked at how wonderful it makes you feel when you connect your world to each other. That's all I wanted to say about that. So sorry, Connie, but I wanted to make sure that I left you with a charge or suggestions, and we'll make that available to people later too. Yep. That little list.
Yeah. Yeah, so I wanted to point out that, again, from the city side, the city does essential services primarily, but we have opportunities to lay groundwork where these other things can flourish, where the entrepreneurship can flourish. And that happens in many ways. So one of the things that happens with Dick is when you go and buy something at the store, there's a 1 cent penny that's called local option sales tax. And that comes back to the city. And so we have a pool of money. So when we do budgeting time, organizations like Dick's can apply for money. And Dick, I don't know, but you've applied what, once, twice, 3 times and gotten...
We didn't apply last year, but we applied the 2 previous years.
Yeah. So Dick has received some funds from that local option sales tax.
And we'll be applying next year. No, just...
And so we want that local option sales tax to be healthy. So because it funds a lot of smaller entrepreneurial projects that our community wants, and that's so important.
And I just want to say thank you, Connie. You are an awesome mayor. I'm not doing advertising for you or helping you in your political aspirations, but I will tell you, you have my vote. You're an awesome mayor. You really work with a lot of different people and honestly and sincerely encourage them. And that is really a rarity, I think, in that field. And really, it's wonderful to have you as our mayor.
So I'll just mention one other project that happened this year. Some people got together and they wanted to do this garden initiative. They saw a need in our community, and these are people who like to garden and they like fresh food, and they saw people in our community that needed to grow their own food just economically, it's healthier, etc. So they applied through a grant. There's an organization called Area 15. And so they have federal monies that come to them. So they came to the city and said, we want to apply for this grant, but it had to be the city that applies for it. So again, it was this bubbling up from our citizens that came to the city. They really put it together. The city put their stamp of approval on it. It went to Area 15. They're getting funded now for the next couple of years. And through that project, it's helping somebody's business. It's helping our whole community because somebody's getting paid to do training videos. So now these videos are out there for our whole community to learn how to garden, learn how to can, learn about your soil, all these various, there's like 15, 20 videos that are going to be produced by the time it's all done. And, you know, it's having these little sprinklings and fingers out to our whole community that are participating in this. So again, it's a real good example of entrepreneurship and the social aspect for our community.
Thank you. That was so eye-opening to know how you can mobilize the community and also your government. So I think we'll move on to Susan now and panelist discussion. Thank you.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Susan Fry, and I'm the Executive Director at the Lord's Cupboard. I came into a position that some of you may know Laura Cohen. She was the director for 8 years. So I humbly am trying to fill her shoes and provide the support for our community. The Lord's Cupboard started out as a 501c3, a nonprofit organization that was developed basically by a need in our community. In 1982, some members of the First Nazarene Church were asked to help with a project for Christmas time from DHS. And from there, it developed into the organization that it is today. We're celebrating 40 years. And basically this started out as a need, which turned into someone's personal mission. The organization was formed by 10 individuals expressing interest in helping fighting hunger in Jefferson County. And over the years, the need has really grown. We presently are serving about 162 households each week. So that's not the number of people, but households. So the need continues to grow, and I'm proud to be a part of that mission. And a key element in supporting the community goodwill here is partnerships with our local community members. So that was my question for Dick. How do we keep that mission strong and in the forefront so people are aware of what the Lord's Cupboard does? Because funny enough, we had an individual just stop by and thought we were Market the other day and wanted to purchase some bread. So as new people come into our community, both from the university and otherwise, we just need to help share our mission and what we do. And so that would be my question. What would be a key element in doing that?
Well, I'll put on my hat as a marketing advisor, but I think one of the key things with a group as wonderful as the Lord's Cupboard is just to let people know in very simple language what you do. You might know it, and you may say, gosh, everybody must know this by now. We've been here since '82. But there are a ton of people who probably don't know it. And there's a saying in sales that says you can tell somebody something, and they may not even hear it till the 7th time you tell them. So that's why some salespeople are very obnoxious, because they realize that people don't hear it sometimes. Of course, you can say something to somebody in such a way that isn't obnoxious, and that's the art of being able to communicate well. I think social media is something Lord's Cupboard could do an even better job of than they do now, so that people, I notice a lot of goodwill projects are done on Facebook with our community. It's just like people just hop on and say, oh, do this, go see the Lord's Cupboard, do that. And I know you guys are doing more, but I think I highly recommend that as you get people to want to volunteer, find somebody who's pretty good at it and see if they can help bring you into, somebody just had a thing that are a little behind the times, and they said, we're bringing our group into the 21st century. And I thought, oh, well, we've been here at the 21st century for a while. Like, you better bring them to the 22nd, or at least well into the 21st. But anyway, I think the point is when you can start, and I know you're pretty good at this, so Susan, for what it's worth, say to somebody, we do this for the people who are in need, and we provide an outlet for the people who have wherewithal, either funding or goods or fresh produce, to help their community in a very simple, so now people go, oh, well, I have funding, or I have goods, or I have this, or I am in need, or I know someone in need, and they can come here. And we make it very simple for people, to our community, to connect with each other and provide the resources needed for families who are hungry, and who, and those, the clearer you get on that, from my experience, then the more you can fundraise and so on. I struggle with this all the time. I'm challenged with this because we do so many cool things. Like, all of our films use local musicians who get paid for their music. And so there's a lot of people who earn an income working on these films. Sometimes it's not a huge income, but it's always, they get paid. And somebody said, why didn't you tell me? And, oh, the music sounds so good. I can't believe it's local musicians. Probably 95% or more of the music is from local musicians or people connected to the community. So the more I can get those words out to people, the more the people go, oh, I like this. I like this project, and I want to be supportive of it. And then letting people have easy ways to that support. So what is it you need the most? And then plan ahead so that you put a strategy in place to raise the money, so you don't go, oh, it's this time of the year and we need everything and we don't have anything. It's like, well, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with a little urgency in your message, but it'd be good to have a team that's just, okay, what resources do we need when, and how can we put this in an organized way so those that funding or those the food, etc., is right there when people need it. I know you guys do an extraordinary job of that, but that's my high suggestion. And obviously the other thing is letting them know your status as a 501c3, as we are. One of the first things I did is I set us up as a 501c3 so that people could support it. These films are not cheap to produce. Even though I take very little funding for myself, it's still $50,000 or $60,000 for the whole film to get done, with all the editors and all the camera people. And, sometimes I just brought somebody in to do an interview from St. Louis. And so, I paid their expenses. So a couple $100, right? And it's not much, but the time we were done, it was close to $400, So everything costs some funds, and you try to do as best a job you can. You don't complain about it, which I know you guys don't, but I hear some 501c, oh, we work so hard and we did. I don't think people want to hear that. I think people want to hear, what's the message? What can I do? And that it's a cool thing and that they want to be a part of it. I always tell people, marketing wise, it's better to feel like we are moving, we are happening, and you want to jump on board. Nobody wants to jump on board a train that's sitting at the station and might sit there for a long time. They want to jump on board a train that's saying, okay, all aboard, we're moving, Oh, I want that train, So anyway, to whatever. Does that help at all?
That's very helpful. And I just wanted to share too, as we are social entrepreneurs, and we do have so many social integrations with our community. And that's really, truly the heartbeat of what keeps us going, as well as our volunteers. And volunteers can fill so many roles, and they really are true ambassadors in our effort to keep the mission of the Lord's Cupboard present. Yeah.
You are definitely doing a great job of moving that organization. A few years ago, as good as it was, maybe 10 years ago, it was definitely more like a certain group of people associated with it that kind of knew what was going on. And now it's really become more and more and more a community project, which I applaud you for. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are we almost done time-wise? I can't hear you.
Yes.
Sorry. Wonderful. Thank you guys so much. We're trying to workshop enabling the chat so we can take some student questions. All
Everybody,
right.
please write your question to the Q&A session. And if I can see that, I can help to speak on your questions.
Perfect. So I just have a question for Connie in the meantime. I was wondering if you have any tips on applications to your local government for support of your mission and your vision?
Well, for things like Dick did, you know, we do budgeting time in December, January, February timeframe. So we're really trying to wrap it up by the end of January. We do have this actual application for lost funds, local option sales tax funds, that it is better if you can get them in like in that December timeframe so that they can be reviewed. The city's Ways and Means Committee is the one that reviews those and determines how that gets funded. And if you ever want to know anything about city government, come to the meetings during budgeting, because that's when you really find out how the city works. It's the best way to find out how government works, is go to those Ways and Means Committee meetings.
The other thing is there are some projects that are not as suited for city funding because
Correct.
maybe they're more in a certain area. And there are organizations that are set up just to support those, like the Greater Jefferson County Foundation. And you can find their application online.
Right.
And once a year, they gave, I don't know how many, over $100,000 of funding to small groups, anything from hundreds of dollars to thousands to over $10,000 to different groups for different needs, whether it's to help build a little league field or, you know, do help people. And then some very small projects that I was shocked about, that people came in and needed some help. And there are people in our community that who have passed away or whatever, and they donated to this foundation to help support our community. And then that foundation is that they're there just to be supportive. That's all they do.
Wonderful. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, Richard, oh, sorry.
their time frame, I think, is the end of May that those applications have to be in, and I think they award them in June or July.
Correct. Yeah.
Yep.
Richard wanted to know more about the gardening project that was funded through Fairfield.
So what I recall is that they were giving away, I think they gave away about 1,500 plant starts. So little plants for people to start their garden. And a nice story is one of the ladies who helped grow all those plants. I happened to see her at Everybody's one day and I said, "Hey, how's the garden initiative going?" And she said, "Oh, Connie, it's been great." She said, "I've had people come up to me and say, I didn't know what I was going to do," with tears in their eyes. And because they got some free plant starts, they knew that they would be okay. They would have some food that they could grow on their own and eat off of. And it was just really going to help them in their budget. So,
I know a little bit also. One of the cool things, isn't that Bob? Is that Bob Ferguson and Faith Reed
Yes.
and others? And what's cool is they watch the videos, they grow something, but they also have a little network. So somebody's growing one thing, another person's growing another thing. They connect to each other and say, "Hey, I've got lots of these," and they say, "Well, I've got some of these," and so they share with each other. So it's a very cool project. And
Yeah.
Susan, can you tell me? Didn't you say that one of those groups also donated some extra that they had to the Lord's Cupboard?
Absolutely. We had 3 different organizations, groups that we were working with. The Giving Garden, which was a recipient of that. They're part of the Iowa State Extension Office. And also the Maharishi Schools. Karen was a part of that. And also there was one other partner besides Faith Reeves. She
I thought
often
that-
brought us produce as well.
The MIU greenhouses, wasn't it?
MIU Greenhouse, thank you. Yes, they brought us in the month of August over 800 pounds of fresh produce, everything from green leafy vegetables to squash, tomatoes, jalapeno peppers, you name it. So that was a great way for them to give back through that grant to to our clients and neighbors at the Lord's Cupboard. And also, it's very important for a person that receives goods from us at the Lord's Cupboard to be able to give back in some way. And some of those individuals actually approached me and wanted me to know that they were bringing tomatoes in, or, something like that. So very wonderful program that they are doing. And that's going to continue on into the next year or two, I was told. So
yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, they will have another approximately 1,500 plants for next year to get people started again. And again, the whole idea is for our food to be grown more locally and for us to be more self-sufficient, and for us to learn that over time. And because what if something happened in the world where we couldn't get our food from California for some reason, where a lot is grown? Or so it's again about making the community more resilient. Our food's healthier when it's grown locally, and you get to pick it when it's ripe, not when it's green. So there's a lot of really good reasons to grow food locally.
Not to mention the fact that you're not using all that energy to ship it all the way to Fairfield.
Yep, absolutely.
Wonderful. Ellie has a question. Do you have any more tips for encouraging your organization to have fun without seeming silly or forced?
First of all, it's never silly to have fun. And I just want to say, as things get more and more kind of busy, this pandemic thing hit people, that they're stressed in so many ways. When I remind my team, who work very hard, we work really, really hard, but it doesn't mean you can't have a good time doing. You can't support each other. You can't laugh together. You can't, it's like, I think it kind of one of the real weaknesses of an organization is one that takes itself too seriously. And I frankly, I notice even at MIU, they're doing a better job of that, not doing that, because in a certain part of the history, don't forget I've been around forever, MIU was so serious that they turned off people. They didn't show the bliss and the joy and the love and the good energy that's there. What they showed is they wanted to make sure the knowledge they were showing was perfectly represented so much that they lost the energy and the juice of it. I think that's coming back, and I'm very happy to see that, because I think it's a great example of what happens when you lose that. It's like it's a weakness. It's a weakness, and it's a strength when you can express your bliss and express your joy for something. You guys see it in what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing, and you can tell. It's not fake. It's not like I love what I'm doing. I mean, I actually like almost feel not guilty, but I'm like, this is the most fun I've had in my entire life, and I'm working my tail off. And well,
wonderful advice.
Not off yet, but it's I'm working and I'm having a good time doing it.
I'm just going to add, I think it's important to tell people right up front, we're going to work hard, but we're going to have fun. And I've said that from the very beginning in city government. We're going to do stuff, but we're going to have fun while we're doing it. And so if that means you have to have a little bit of social time before or after you do your work, great, do it. And I'm taking this, we are here to enjoy, and I'm using that, Dick.
There you go.
I'm envisioning a sign on my wall.
There you go. I'm so excited to hear that. It's it's a thrill. It's a thrill. It's a thrill to share that message.
I want to share another question. It says, thank you, Dick, for sharing your wonderful projects with us. If someone wants to support or assist the film project in any way, how can they go about it?
So we have ways that they can donate and ways that they can contact us, all on the website, www.fairfieldhistoryseries.com. And that's probably the best way. You can also email me at dickd@deangelis.net, but you probably won't. Well,
perfect.
Yes.
And then Hanuk from Ethiopia says that they want to know how a student from abroad can be part of your cause, and how you like to have people from abroad participate.
So the student
as well. Oh, sorry. And also what the major takeaway you think from today would be as well.
Well, as far as is this to me?
Yes.
So my thing that I would like to see is for communities to take this, what we're doing, watch the films, and then do something like that for their community. I'd love to know what the history of that person's home in Ethiopia is over the generations. What changed, what didn't change, how people changed, what's the oldest history that's known, maybe even a conversation with some of the elders of the community to tell stories that they were told from their parents and their grandparents, to share that not only with us but with their community, and to have that, because those people are gone. I can't tell you how many people we've interviewed that aren't here anymore. And those interviews would not be, now they're something we have as a community and are able to share. We're actually working on a project to make all of our interviews available to the community through the library, and to actually, have them easily findable, etc. It's quite a big project, but it's really quite, every film I do, I probably use 25 interviews at least, but we interview 50 to 60 people. So some of the great interviews we had aren't even used in the film. So and what was the other thing? So that's how they can help, by actually taking this idea and using it in your community. And of course, if someone has lots of money and they want to donate, we really always can use it. Please just press the donate button on our site. That'd be great. But I would encourage people to, raise the money in your community for enough for a camera. Now you can use an iPhone, for crying out loud, and get a gorgeous film out of it. I mean, maybe not quite the same as what we're doing, but really close. So technology makes this project, which wasn't even possible 20 years ago, without a huge expenditure, not to anywhere near the quality that we're talking about. Now it's very possible for people to do it. So they should look at what is it. We've already had offers as far as Hawaii for us to work with them. And of course, I told them if they want to fly me out there, I would probably consult with them. but they want to know, we want to know what the history of this island is. Well, I do too, and I think it's going to grow. We're probably the first community doing this in such an extensive way, but I think many communities will start doing this over time. This idea of people learning about the place that they live in. We don't have many anchors in our lives. A lot of people even aren't close to their families as much. And isn't it? If you take wherever you live and wherever you settle down, and you start to understand where it is you are, what are the major waterways and how they were used and where are they? If I ask most of you, have you been to the Skunk River at Makun Access and seen how beautiful the Skunk River is there? Probably most of you haven't, but it really is remarkable, and it's part of Jefferson County. And it has a story. Makun Access isn't somebody named Makun or about raccoons or something. A guy named Mac Coon was a great environmentalist in that area. And he told them, hey, this area where Native Americans were very plentiful at one time needs to be preserved. And so the county actually preserved that area as a state reserve. And it's called Makun Access.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Dick, Mayor Connie, and Susan. I thought it was really eye-opening to hear from you. I think one of the major takeaways I had was that we need to use our own unique skills and kind of start from where we're planted, start in our communities. And it's really inspiring to hear how you guys have been doing that in Fairfield. I just want to say that, again, if you want to learn more about Fairfield Productions, you can visit fairfieldhistoryseries.com. Any other questions, we'll send emails out to respond to you, by the way. I'm seeing some more questions in the chat. Yes, if you visit Fairfield as well, please also check out the Seven Roses Inn Bed and Breakfast, owned by Connie and her husband, Bob. And finally, if you want to support the wonderful efforts of the Lord's Cupboard of Jefferson County, visit lordscupboard.org, where you can find a link to donate and information on how to volunteer. And then finally, I just want to thank Iyako and Taylor and the MBA Business Department for putting this webinar together. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And we will be dismissed of this webinar, and have a wonderful Saturday afternoon. Thank you so much for this wonderful discussion. Thank you.